What happens when a late-night interview suddenly stops feeling like entertainment and starts feeling like a confrontation no one can control? The lights are bright, the audience is laughing, and Stephen Colbert leans forward with that familiar grin. But Jason Momoa's expression doesn't match the tone of the room. Something feels different, something heavier. And before anyone realizes it, the entire atmosphere begins to shift. Before we go any further, subscribe to Talk Flair, like this video, and drop a comment right now if you love intense celebrity moments like this, because what you're about to witness is something people still can't stop talking about. The studio is buzzing. Cameras glide smoothly, the band fades into silence, and Colbert launches into his usual charm, joking about Momoa's latest project. The audience laughs on cue. Momoa smiles politely, nodding, his hands resting casually on his knees. But his eyes, they're alert. Focused. Watching. Waiting. Colbert leans in. You've played warriors, kings, heroes, but tonight, I've got to ask, what scares Jason Momoa? The audience chuckles softly. Momoa pauses. Just a second too long. Well, he says slowly, voice calm, being misunderstood. The tone lands differently than expected. Not funny. Not playful. Real. Colbert laughs lightly, trying to keep the mood afloat. Misunderstood? Come on, man, you're basically the internet's favorite superhero. Momoa exhales through his nose, glancing toward the audience, then back to Colbert. That's kind of the problem. The laughter fades. You can feel it, the subtle shift. The room senses this isn't scripted anymore. Colbert straightens slightly. What do you mean? Momoa leans forward now, elbows on his knees. People see the roles, the muscles, the action. They don't always see the person behind it. And interviews sometimes, he hesitates, choosing his words carefully, don't help. A murmur ripples through the audience. Colbert smiles, but it's tighter this time. You saying I'm part of the problem, Jason? Momoa meets his eyes. No smile, just intensity. I'm saying sometimes these conversations turn people into headlines instead of humans. The air thickens. You could hear a pin drop between the rows of seats. Colbert shifts in his chair. Well, headlines are kind of the business we're in. Momoa nods slowly. Yeah, I know. Silence lingers. A camera zooms slightly closer. The audience leans forward, sensing something unscripted unfolding. Colbert tries again, lighter tone. So let's skip the headlines. Tell me something real. Momoa studies him. Really studies him. You ready for real? Colbert raises his eyebrows. Always. Momoa's voice lowers. Real is walking into rooms where people expect a performance, not honesty. Real is answering questions that are framed to get a reaction, not a conversation. The audience shifts uncomfortably. Colbert crosses one leg over the other. You think I'm trying to get a reaction out of you right now? Momoa doesn't blink. I think you're good at what you do. The tension is electric now. Not loud. Not explosive. Just tight, like a wire stretched to its limit. Colbert chuckles nervously. That sounds like a compliment. Momoa finally smiles, but it's brief, controlled. Depends how you hear it. A few scattered laughs echo from the crowd, unsure, cautious. Colbert leans forward again, voice softer. All right, then let's do this differently. No jokes. No setups. Just two people talking. Momoa nods once. That's all I want. For a moment, it feels like the storm has passed. The audience relaxes slightly. Then Colbert asks quietly, do you ever feel like the industry boxed you in? Momoa's jaw tightens. Every day. The words hit hard. Colbert's eyes widen slightly. Even now, with everything you've accomplished. Momoa sits back, shoulders broad, gaze steady. Especially now. The band members glance at each other. Producers behind the cameras whisper. Something is unfolding they didn't plan for. Colbert lowers his voice. Why? Momoa's eyes drift across the audience, then back. Because people stop listening once they think they know you. The room is silent again. And for the first time, Stephen Colbert looks unsure. The interview has crossed a line, from performance into confrontation. Not aggressive, not loud, but deeply personal. And everyone watching can feel it. This isn't entertainment anymore. This is real. The conversation continues, heavier now, like both men realize there's no going back to safe territory. Colbert folds his hands. So what do you want people to hear tonight? Momoa doesn't answer immediately. He looks down, thinking, then back up. That I'm more than the roles. More than the image. And I'm tired of pretending that doesn't matter. The audience breaks into soft applause, uncertain, but supportive. Colbert nods slowly. Fair. But his next question lands sharper than expected. And do you think maybe sometimes you lean into that image yourself? The tension snaps tighter. Momoa's eyes narrow just slightly. What do you mean? Colbert gestures lightly. The brand. The persona. The larger-than-life presence. You know how to use it. Momoa's voice drops. Yeah, because if I don't, someone else will. The crowd goes still again. Colbert studies him. So this is survival? Momoa nods once. It always has been. Something about that answer changes the energy entirely. It's no longer just an interview. It's a window into something raw, something personal, something unfiltered. And from that moment on, every word feels heavier, every glance sharper, every pause louder than anything the audience expected when they walked into the studio that night. Because what started as a late-night chat is slowly becoming a clash of perspectives. One host trying to keep control of the conversation, one guest refusing to stay inside the lines. And neither of them is backing down. The conversation continues, but the atmosphere is no longer the same. It feels as if both of them understand there's no returning to light, safe humor now. Every sentence carries weight. Every silence means something. Colbert folds his hands, his voice more serious. So what do you want people to hear from you tonight? Momoa doesn't answer immediately. He looks down for a moment, organizing his thoughts, then raises his eyes. That I'm not just the roles, not just an image, and I'm tired of pretending that it doesn't matter. The audience begins to clap softly, hesitant but supportive. Colbert nods. Fair. But his next question lands sharper than expected. But don't you think, sometimes you lean into that image yourself? The air tightens again. Momoa's eyes narrow slightly. What do you mean? Colbert gestures lightly. The brand. The persona people see. That larger-than-life presence. You know how to use it. Momoa's voice drops, steady and deep. Yeah, because if I don't, someone else will. The audience falls silent once more. Colbert studies him. So this is survival? Momoa nods. It always has been. That answer changes the room. This is no longer just an interview. It's a glimpse into something personal, something usually hidden behind the cameras. Colbert sits up straighter. Do you feel like people only see you as an image? A character in a story? Momoa gives a faint smile, but there's exhaustion behind it. People like simple stories. A hero. A villain. A face. Not a complicated human being. The room grows quiet again. Colbert speaks softly. And you want them to see that complexity? Momoa responds immediately. No. I want them to listen. The sentence lands heavily. No one moves. The camera slowly zooms in on both of them. Colbert takes a slow breath. Then tell us. We're listening. After a pause, Momoa speaks. When you hear the same questions again and again, when you see the same expectations, there comes a point where you wonder if anyone actually wants to know who you really are. Colbert replies quietly. I want to know. Momoa's gaze sharpens. Then listen. I'm not always strong. Not always confident. Sometimes I'm afraid people will only remember the character and forget the person. The admission is unexpected. The audience barely breathes. Colbert's expression softens. Do you feel like interviews box you in? Momoa leans forward slightly. Sometimes. Because time is short, questions are fast, and truth is never short. Colbert smiles faintly. But tonight you have time. Momoa holds his gaze. Then hear the truth. I'm tired of the expectation that I should always smile, always look strong, always be the same person people think I am. The words echo through the studio. Someone in the audience nods quietly, as if they understand. Colbert says gently, That's heavy. Momoa replies, That's real. For a few seconds, they just look at each other. No host, no guest, just two people in a moment that feels completely unscripted. Then Colbert asks carefully, If people could see you again from the beginning, what would they see? Momoa takes a breath. A human being, with mistakes, with emotions, with strength, but also with weaknesses. A quiet wow comes from somewhere in the audience. Colbert smiles softly. That sounds like everyone. Momoa nods. Yeah, but not everyone gets the chance to say it out loud. The statement deepens the mood even more. Behind the cameras, producers exchange glances. This is the kind of moment no script can create. Colbert lowers his eyes for a moment, then looks back. I'll admit, sometimes we hosts forget that the person sitting across from us is human first, guest second. The admission is unexpected. Momoa's expression softens. And sometimes I forget that not every question is an attack. Sometimes it's just curiosity. A small ripple of laughter spreads through the audience, the first hint of lightness returning. But the tension hasn't disappeared. It's a fragile balance now, truth and television sharing the same space. Colbert leans forward. So are we still trying to understand each other? Momoa answers calmly, yeah. And maybe that's the hardest part. The room falls quiet again. In that moment, it becomes clear, this isn't just a conversation. It's a clash of perspectives. One world that creates stories, and one person who has to live inside them. And as the dialogue continues, every word reveals another layer. Every question opens another door, and every answer makes this night more unforgettable. Because now this isn't just an interview. It's a search for truth. And no one in that studio can look away. The silence that follows feels heavier than anything said before. It stretches across the studio, pressing against the walls, settling into the space between every breath and every glance. No music, no laughter, just the quiet awareness that something real is unfolding on live television. Colbert shifts slightly in his chair, studying Momoa as if seeing him differently now. Not as a guest, not as a celebrity, but as a person standing in the middle of a moment that neither of them fully controls anymore. So where does that pressure come from? Colbert asks gently. From the audience, the industry, or from yourself? Momoa doesn't hesitate this time. All of it. His voice is steady, but there's a weight behind it. You walk into a room, he continues, and people already have a version of you in their heads. Strong, loud, fearless. And if you don't match that version, it confuses them. The audience listens quietly, completely absorbed. Colbert nods. And confusing people feels dangerous? Momoa exhales slowly. Not dangerous, just lonely. The word lands softly, but it echoes. Colbert leans forward. Lonely? Momoa gives a faint smile, though his eyes remain serious. Yeah, because when everyone thinks they know you, they stop asking who you really are. For a moment, Colbert has no response. He simply watches, listening. Then he asks carefully, do you feel like tonight is different? Momoa glances around the studio. The lights, the audience, the cameras, then back at Colbert. Yeah, because tonight, I'm not playing a role. The audience reacts, quiet murmurs, shifting in their seats. Colbert folds his hands again. And neither am I. Something in that exchange changes the energy again. It's no longer host versus guest. It's two people navigating an unscripted space together. But tension still lingers, just beneath the surface. Colbert clears his throat slightly. Let me ask you something honest. Has there ever been a moment where you wanted to walk away from all of this? Momoa doesn't answer immediately. He looks down, then rubs his hands together slowly, as if grounding himself. Yeah, he finally says. More than once. The audience is completely still now. Fame looks loud from the outside, Momoa continues. But from the inside, it can get very quiet. Colbert's expression softens. Quiet in what way? Momoa's gaze drifts somewhere distant. Quiet like you're surrounded by people, but no one really sees you. Quiet like every conversation feels expected. Planned. Filtered. Colbert nods slowly, understanding. And tonight, he asks. Momoa looks directly at him. Tonight doesn't feel filtered. That statement sends a ripple through the audience. Colbert lets out a small breath. Good. For a second, the tension eases. Then Colbert asks something unexpected. But let me push back a little, he says. You chose this life. The spotlight. The attention. The platform. Doesn't that come with responsibility too? The question sharpens the air again. Momoa tilts his head slightly. Responsibility to who? Colbert meets his gaze. To the people who look up to you, who see strength in you, who feel inspired by what you represent. Momoa listens carefully, then nods once. I get that. He leans forward, elbows on his knees again. But responsibility shouldn't mean pretending, he continues. It shouldn't mean hiding the parts of yourself that don't fit the image. The audience breaks into quiet applause. Colbert waits for the sound to fade. So strength is honesty? Momoa smiles faintly. Real strength? Yeah, it's honesty. It's saying, I don't have it all figured out. The words hang in the air. Colbert studies him. You think people are ready to hear that from someone like you? Momoa shrugs lightly. Maybe not, but they deserve to. The room goes quiet again. A camera cuts to the audience, faces focused, expressions thoughtful, some emotional. Colbert leans back, letting the moment breathe. He says slowly, most interviews are about promoting something. A film, a project, a headline. But this feels different. Momoa nods. Because it is. Colbert smiles slightly. There's no script for this. Momoa returns the smile. Exactly. Another pause settles in. Then Colbert asks, voice softer than before, what scares you the most right now? Momoa's expression shifts. Not fear, but vulnerability. Being stuck, he says. Being seen only one way. Forever. The audience absorbs the answer in silence. Colbert tilts his head. And what would freedom look like? Momoa's eyes lift slightly, as if imagining it. Freedom is being able to grow without people saying you've changed. Being able to fail without it becoming a headline. Being human without apology. The words resonate deeply. Colbert nods slowly. That's powerful. Momoa chuckles quietly. It's just honest. The tension softens, but the emotional intensity remains. Colbert glances briefly toward the cameras, then back at Momoa. You realize millions of people are watching this right now. Momoa smiles faintly. I know. And that doesn't make you nervous? Momoa thinks for a moment. It does. But it also feels right. Colbert studies him. Why? Momoa answers without hesitation. Because for once, I'm not trying to be what people expect. I'm just being here. The audience breaks into genuine applause now, louder, warmer. But even in that moment, the air still carries the echo of everything said before. Every truth, every challenge, every shift in tone. Colbert lets the applause settle, then looks at Momoa again. He says quietly, this might be the most honest conversation I've had on this stage. Momoa smiles. Then it's worth it. Their eyes meet again. This time not as host and guest, not as interviewer and celebrity, but as two people who have crossed into a space neither of them planned to reach. And the audience can feel it. This isn't entertainment anymore. It's something raw, something real, something happening in real time that no script, no rehearsal, and no expectation could ever recreate. The night has shifted, and there's no going back. The studio feels different now. Not tense in the same way it was before, but charged. Like something important has already happened, and everyone in the room knows they are witnessing the aftermath in real time. Stephen Colbert glances briefly toward the cameras, then back at Jason Momoa. The usual rhythm of a late-night interview is gone. No quick jokes. No promotional cues. Just a lingering silence filled with meaning. Colbert says quietly, people are going to talk about this tomorrow. Momoa lets out a slow breath. Yeah, I figured. Headlines, clips, opinions. Colbert continues. Some will say it was intense. Some will say it was uncomfortable. Some might even say it went too far. Momoa nods slightly. That's how it works. The audience listens closely, sensing the conversation is nearing its end but not wanting it to finish. Colbert leans forward. Do you regret any of it? Momoa shakes his head almost immediately. No. The certainty in his voice fills the room. I'd regret staying quiet more, he adds. I'd regret pretending everything is simple when it's not. A wave of soft applause spreads across the studio. Colbert smiles faintly. That honesty, it's rare on television. Momoa glances around at the audience. Maybe it shouldn't be. For a moment, no one speaks. The cameras hold steady, capturing faces in the crowd. Some thoughtful, some emotional, some still trying to process what they've just seen. Colbert breaks the silence. I think people forget that these moments don't just stay in this room anymore. They travel. Instantly. Social media, news outlets, commentary channels. Momoa chuckles quietly. Yeah, by the time I walk out of here, there'll already be headlines. Colbert raises an eyebrow. And how do you feel about that? Momoa pauses, considering the question. If the conversation helps even one person feel seen, then it's worth it. That answer lands deeply. The audience begins clapping again, louder this time, more confident, as if they understand they've just witnessed something meaningful. Colbert nods, almost to himself. Interviews are supposed to reveal things. But tonight, this felt like more than that. Momoa looks at him. Because it was real. Colbert smiles, a genuine one now. Yeah, it was. The band members shift slightly, waiting for the signal to wrap up. Producers exchange looks behind the cameras. No one wants to interrupt, but the show must move forward. Colbert turns toward the audience. Let's be honest. This isn't the kind of moment you plan. It just happens. And when it does, you either lean into it or you miss it. The audience nods, some clapping softly. Momoa stands slowly from his chair, then pauses, looking back at Colbert. Thanks for letting it be real. Colbert stands as well. Thanks for trusting the space. They shake hands, firm, respectful, not performative. Just a quiet acknowledgement of everything that passed between them. The audience rises into a standing ovation. The applause is loud, sustained, emotional. Cameras capture every angle, the handshake, the expressions, the energy in the room. The moment feels bigger than television now. It feels like something that will live far beyond this studio. As the applause continues, screens backstage begin lighting up. Producers glance at their phones, notifications flooding in. Clips already spreading. Tweets. Headlines forming in real time. Unexpected tension on Colbert. Jason Momoa gets real on live TV. Interview turns emotional. The ripple effect has begun. Colbert glances at the monitors, then back at Momoa, half smiling. Looks like the internet's already awake. Momoa laughs quietly. It never sleeps. They step apart, but the connection remains, unspoken, understood. The applause slowly fades as the show prepares to cut to commercial, but the energy doesn't disappear. It lingers in the air, in the minds of everyone present. Because this wasn't just a segment. It was a moment where a celebrity dropped the image, a moment where a host dropped the script, a moment where the audience stopped watching and started feeling. And outside that studio, the reaction grows. Clips begin circulating within minutes. Fans debate the exchange. Comment sections explode with opinions, some praising Momoa's honesty, others analyzing every word, every pause, every expression. Media outlets pick it up. Reaction videos appear. Headlines multiply. The conversation spreads across platforms, crossing borders, reaching millions. Not because of drama, but because of truth. And truth travels fast. Inside the studio, the lights dim slightly as the segment ends. Crew members begin moving again, but even they speak in quieter tones, as if they don't want to break the atmosphere that still hangs in the air. Colbert watches Momoa walk off stage, then turns back toward his desk, thoughtful, changed somehow. Momoa pauses at the edge of the stage, glancing once more at the audience. Some smile, some nod, some simply watch, still absorbing everything. He nods back, grateful, grounded, then disappears behind the curtain. The moment is over, but its impact is just beginning. And now it shifts to you. What did you feel watching this? Was it just another interview, or something more? Did Jason Momoa cross a line, or did he finally speak a truth people needed to hear? Tell us in the comments. Your voice matters in this conversation. And if you want more stories like this, raw, emotional, and unforgettable moments from the world of celebrities and live television, make sure you subscribe to Talk Flair, like this video, and share it with someone who needs to see it. Because sometimes the most powerful moments aren't scripted. They just happen. And when they do, everyone feels them.